Sam Levinson might need to be like investigated.
I mean, it's funny. I think that sometimes things that might be revolutionary are taken too far.
When she was 14 on vacation in Panama City Beach, she met a guy who was like 40, but honestly, she was the one in control.
When they write you into the script, do they say, hey, how do you feel about being...
You have no choice.
What's wrong with him? He's so... Yeah, I kind of like that about him.
Sam Levinson has created some of the most triggering content available. He puts his actresses in uncomfortable situations and insists on violating them on shows like Euphoria or The Idol. Even though Sam has received backlash and a ton of articles have tried to expose his directing, he still holds a ton of power in the industry. So let's get into it. You guys may have heard the name Sam Levinson before because he may have created your favorite show if you like Euphoria or the new series on HBO titled The Idol, which features The Weeknd and Lily Rose Depp, which we'll talk about in a moment. But I want to talk to you guys about who this Sam man is, where he's come from, and why people don't like him. Sam Levinson is a director and actor, and he's been responsible for movies like Assassination Nation, X, Deepwater, and Malcolm and Mary. To be honest, I haven't seen any of those, but I have seen Euphoria, and of course, I've seen The Idol, and these two shows have made him a very divisive person.
Sam Levinson,
he's got a weird mind.
He might need to be like investigated. I don't know. All right, Euphoria is like the most popular show on TV. Actually, no, it's like Stranger Things. But Euphoria is up there.
Adult show, I guess.
I really don't get the hype. I don't get it. Like, it looks great. I get that. And it's like shot well. They do interesting camera work. Good actors and actresses.
Really good acting in it, yeah.
But the writing, it just is like a cheap ripoff of just other teen dramas. Like, it feels like a ripoff of Skins.
I actually love the show Skins, and it does remind me of that kind of show. But there's also an emotion that he evokes through his work because he really does push the boundaries and puts these actors in uncomfortable situations. Sam has been working in the industry since 1992, and he's had his hands in a lot of different projects. And there seems to be a formula to his work, and it seems to come from a much darker place in his past.
I've cracked the Sam Levinson formula. Step 1, cast someone that looks like your mom. Done. Done. Step 2, make them as good as possible in every scene. Try to put that in their contract if you can. Must be as good as possible while filming. Step 3, zoom in on crying face. Check, check. Step 4, include a Canadian musical collaborator, and you too can have your own HBO show.
Amidst controversies, Sam has committed to his raw style, and he doesn't let criticism affect it, even though he probably could take some advice, because some of the moments that he's created, even in The Idol, I was triggered by. And that's because he explores themes like mental health struggles, self-identity, drug issues, complex relationships, and much more. He's actually shared that a lot of his writing is inspired by his own experiences with drug use and addiction. But you have to admit there is some type of cheesy factor, and it does seem like he's pushing this like Hollywood aesthetic that's not necessarily realistic to how life works, and people poke fun at him on the internet.
I love how you like gaslight me.
Are you gay?
What? Tell me right now.
Whoa, who is that? Hey, I hate women.
Oh my god, do you want to like move in?
I want you to know like Wait, stop, we're in a CVS.
There are a lot of people who criticize his work because it does seem like he enjoys to exploit women. I don't know if that's something that he has in his past. That one TikToker was bringing up his mother, but that's something that he gets criticized for. And people are constantly trying to ask his actresses if they feel comfortable, if the environment is toxic, because there are so many rumors saying so. And I think that's also part of how just Hollywood works. I mean, if you want to continue working, you're not going to expose the person you're currently employed by.
I just want to say that, you know, of course it's always, you know, a little sad and disheartening to see mean, false things said about somebody that you really care about and that you know is not like that. And yeah, it wasn't reflective at all of my experience shooting the show.
One of the reasons why people criticize Sam is because he does tend to be a little overly sexual. And I mean, shows like Euphoria are kind of aimed towards teenagers. At least all the, my younger siblings, they were watching it. And actually, Sydney Sweeney expressed in an interview that she was discomfort shooting some of those scenes. She claimed that Sam never forced her and respected her decision of not being in certain scenes, but there were a lot of moments where these young actresses are just taking off their clothes.
Sydney Sweeney was one of the breakout stars of the show Euphoria, but now she's coming out revealing she regrets her scenes in the show. While she's 24 in real life, she was playing a high school age student. And a lot of people thought it was strange that she had to do so many topless scenes, but her co-star Zendaya didn't have to do any. Which brings up a common complaint about scenes in movies and TV shows where famous actresses don't have to do them, but new ones have to do it to earn fame. And the same thing happened for Sydney Sweeney, where in the second season of Euphoria, she told producers she wasn't going to do as many scenes. She also said scenes are different from male actors where they get celebrated for them, but women have to live with those scenes for the rest of their lives. And she said her request for fewer scenes was supported by Zendaya and the rest of the cast. She did confirm she will do scenes in the future, but they'll be her choice and not the producer.
Other Euphoria actresses like Chloe Cherry, Minka, and Martha Kelly have also come forward and given their takes. These interviews have often sparked debates around Sam's explicit work in films and series. The Idol is his current series that's receiving backlash. I mean, it was canceled, and it's because of its depiction of extreme sexual content. Many feel that the character Lily Rose Depp as Jocelyn has been degraded in an attempt to showcase the darker side of the music industry.
Hey. Can you help me with this zipper? I don't know where my husband is.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Thanks.
Levinson thought it would be more interesting if my dress fell to the ground. That was my first day as a guest on this new show, and I just didn't feel comfortable standing there naked. Kelly went on to explain that after voicing her concerns to Levinson, he immediately accepted any changes she wanted to make, adding, quote, "I said I'd love to do this scene, but I think we can keep my dress on." He was like, okay. He didn't even hesitate, and he shot a beautiful scene and got exactly what he wanted.
Aside from the vulgar content controversy, there were also allegations concerning a toxic work environment and exhausting work days on the set of Euphoria. Supposedly, Sam would make the actors wait for restroom and food breaks for long hours. There was also a feud between Sam and one of the actresses, Barbie. She played Kat in Euphoria. We don't really have the details of how bad their feud got, but it was bad enough that she decided to exit the show. So she's no longer going to be an actress, and she was a pretty big role, so it must have been big.
Barbie Ferreira has revealed the real reason she decided to leave Euphoria. Ferreira was in the principal cast of the first 2 seasons of the HBO series, playing Kat, a high schooler who struggles with her body image. After season 2 aired last year, rumors spread that Ferreira's lack of screen time was due to a conflict between her and the show's creator, Sam Levinson. A few months later, she announced in an Instagram statement that she would not be returning for season 3, further amplifying speculation.
I think it was a mutual decision. I think my character, who I love so dearly, I don't think there was a place for her to go. And I think both parties knew that.
Ferreira explained that even in season 2, she and Levinson struggled to find a continuation for her. She said that Levinson writes for things he relates to, and she doesn't believe that he can relate to Kat.
I think Barbie has a huge point there. I mean, he can't necessarily relate to her story or what story she's trying to tell through that character. And I think that's why a lot of feminists don't appreciate his work, because he does put these women in uncomfortable situations that he doesn't quite understand. And he's really the main director and writer here. So it doesn't sound like he's got a lot of people who are giving him other opinions. And that's probably why The Idol, which they spent a lot of money on, ultimately flopped. Now let's talk about how the Idol creator, Sam, over-sexualizes and victimizes his female characters. Now, I remember this Rolling Stone article coming out because it was released in March and it went viral because they talked about the behind-the-scenes chaos and disturbing sexual content that was ultimately scrapped from the show. So we have no idea what Lily Rose Depp had been put through.
Sam, your treatment of female sexuality, I've seen it described as both revolutionary and taking things too far. I want to know how you decided where to draw the line, how you worked together on the scenes, and Lily, how you felt about it.
Well, I mean, it's funny. I think that sometimes things that might be revolutionary are taken too far. I think it's, we live in a very centralized world, particularly, I mean, I can't speak to other countries because I'm not as familiar, but especially in the States. And I think the influence of pornography is really strong in terms of the psyche of, I think, young people in the States. And we see this in pop music and how it sort of reflects
I think Sam has a valid point there, that there is this, over sexualization that already exists, but you also have to keep in mind that he is making it worse. He's further pushing that narrative instead of trying to rewrite it or give the women the power in this situation. He's completely taking it away, and now we've got Rolling Stone over here doing exposés about his directing. And even though these actresses may not be underage, they're playing underage girls in high school, like specifically talking about Euphoria. What's interesting about Zendaya's character is that she plays Rue, who is someone that Sam specifically relates to, and she's one of the only actresses who isn't necessarily over sexualized or brutalized in the same way as the other actresses are. One of the characters who really goes through it in Euphoria is Maddie. I mean, she has an abusive on and off relationship with the popular football player Nate, who's played by Jacob, who's like extremely tall and huge. I feel like if I ever see him in LA, I would definitely know who he is because he's like a basketball player height. But she has gone through a lot behind the scenes playing this character, and a lot of these moments must play with, mess with your psyche in some way. I mean, if you are playing a character and acting, I mean, of course, it's just a job, but at the same time, you are there for hours becoming this character, and putting out this type of content is probably very triggering for people who are younger and have been, exploited in this way.
So Sam Levinson is in the news for being a weird creep.
Because the truth is that when she was 14 on vacation in Panama City Beach, she met a guy who was like 40.
Hey, you from around here?
Which, in retrospect, seems kind of and weird, but honestly, she was the one in control.
That is clearly a weird way to depict a 14-year-old being violated, trying to assume that there is any control in a situation when you're a minor and there's like a 40-year-old preying on you. And I think that's like another, sad way that Sam has depicted certain things. And that's probably why the actress Barbie had to get out of there. Even though there are a bunch of actresses who have come forward and said, you know what, when they confronted Sam, he agreed, he complied, and they moved forward. But there is Barbie, who was the only plus size character, and her character didn't seem to be respected by Sam because they would constantly butt heads, and it doesn't seem like he was able to comprehend what her character was playing in the show, which is like, a different kind of struggle.
I know 100,000% I don't like him. I have followed Barbie forever, since like way before Euphoria. I've always loved her. And I know just because of the way the season went, like it was going very much towards typical narrative of fat girl who hates herself, and regardless of what their fight was about, I know whatever it was about, I would have been on her side and I would have hated him. Like, I know that for a fact. I also already had issues with him after Malcolm and Marie, so now I'm just hoping it's not another white man in Hollywood who's going to use his newfound success and power to tell marginalized groups what their experience are and use his access to diversity against those communities. I just hope he's not misusing the identities of his characters.
I wish we did know the details of like what their fight was about and what he was trying to have her do, because like leaving that job, that's a lot of money, that's a lot of press, that's a huge career move. So is he like the new Dan Schneider of Hollywood? Cassie's character, who's played by Sydney Sweeney, is definitely the most like out of all of them, and her character craves validation from men and likes to be submissive to whoever she's in a relationship with. Cassie is by far the most objectified character on the show and has consistently terrible relationships with men.
And now you say your parents are proud, you're on the cover of Cosmo, but what about all the scenes that, like, how do they feel about the whole show, really?
Well, so for the premiere, I invited my entire family. And I didn't really think about the scenes.
Your entire family, meaning
like my grandparents, my uncles.
You invited your grandparents.
Oh yeah, I was like, it's a Hollywood premiere. Like, you gotta come. I was on the floor.
What are you thinking, inviting your grandparents to that? Well, and how
I wasn't thinking. I was so excited.
And how are they with it?
Up. They said I have the best in Hollywood.
Maybe Sydney Sweeney is able to embrace, what she's got, but there's got to be a part of her too that wants to be respected as an actress and not, deemed in this way. And I'm actually glad to see her working on other projects like Reality. I haven't seen Reality, but I see billboards all over and I see her face everywhere. And it seems like a way different kind of project than, Euphoria is. But even male characters are objectified on the show. And the character Nate, who's played by Jacob, has also been open about how, he's not necessarily that comfortable being all the time either.
I cannot even make this up. Yet another cast member has come out saying that Sam Levinson uses too much nudity.
And you're naked a lot. How does that feel? Is that something when they write you into the script, do they say, hey, how do you feel about being naked? Or you just all of a sudden are surprised, like, oh, I have to be naked?
You have no choice.
Right.
You know, it's like every scene is like, he sleeps with this person. He does this with this person. But it's like, it gets to the point, I've done some movies where it gets to the point where it's like, he goes to the mall shirtless. And you're like, why? What would you possibly like?
Well, because look at you. That's why.
I've talked about this before, but I just find it odd that half of the cast has said this already. And a lot of people have told me, well, it's an HBO series, Game of Thrones did the same thing. But this is a show centered purely around minors. So, I don't know, it's weird.
Even though Sam has received criticism for the nudity, and honestly, I'm surprised that like HBO hasn't stepped in, he's continued to push forward. And it seems like The Idol is almost like his way of mocking his critics and seeing how far he can go. This was supposed to be Lily Rose Depp's biggest premiere, and it seems like she's been embarrassed the entire way because Sam Levinson, has made her get as everyone on Euphoria combined. And it seems like throughout their press tour, she's been kind of pushed aside and discredited, and it's exactly how her character was treated in the show. So I wouldn't be surprised if he treats all of his actresses like this on set as well.
This show, The Idol, was meant to be a kind of like warning about the dark sides of fame from the female perspective. Like, that's what it was meant to be. And it was a really interesting initial concept, honestly, before Sam Levinson and The Weeknd kind of took control. But you know what's so interesting to me about the way this show has been promoted? 99% of the articles I have read have been The Weeknd promoting the show, talking about the show, defending the show, hyping himself up as some like method actor that like really, you know, will like he fully rebranded himself as Abel Tesfaye.
Even though the show has been canceled, it seems like they tried everything in their power to redirect the narrative, and they've tried to use Lily Rose Depp along the way, but they've had to scrap a lot of the show. They've wasted a ton of money, and it ultimately came out cringy and off-putting. USA Today said the show was exploitative and achingly boring, which I was watching it with like my friend, and I told him like after the third episode, if it doesn't pick up, I can't watch the show anymore. So The Idol was a flop, and you know what? Even though Sam probably wanted it to be one of his biggest hits, it just is far from that. And that's because a lot of the writing is cringe, and they didn't really develop like Jocelyn, the character, as like a pop star. There's no like flashbacks or anything to add depth to the character itself. It all seems like they just rented a few like, you know, spots in LA and just put this together as... So the show is over, and I want to hear what you guys think of the show in the comments below. I mean, of course, Sam isn't going anywhere because we've got another season of Euphoria that will be coming out. And to be honest, I feel like throughout his series, I mean, unless the next season of Euphoria completely flops and he just disappears, he's going to be one of these problematic characters who later on there's going to be actresses like Lily Rose Depp who's going to open up about how this show was supposed to be a huge hit, yet this man couldn't stop his perversions from overtaking it and exploiting characters along the way. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Comment below what you think of Sam Levinson and what you think of these shows. I mean, I think there's like a quality to them. The darkness is a little bit appealing, and I like that kind of content. I mean, like Black Mirror and those type of really intense shows, but at the same time, there were moments like the hairbrush scene where I was like a little bit triggered, believe it or not. So I want to hear what you guys think in the comments below, and I'll see you in a new video soon. Bye, guys.